If you don't want to have your face in the video, please feel free to turn off your webcam throughout this session. Please do keep your microphones muted unless invited to speak, and I will help with that as well. That said, if you have questions, feel free to use the raise the hand function or post it in the chat, and we'll keep track of those. The closed caption feature is enabled. You need to activate it though, so please do click on the show captions or the CCC live transcript. Those are going to be buttons in the bottom toolbar. If you don't have all the buttons showing, then you're going to need to click more to find it. We have two presenters today that I'm very excited to present. They're going to be presenting Leveling the Playing Field, using games to increase equity and learning in the online classroom. We have Colette Murphy. I almost called you Dr. Colette after this whole conversation. And Dr. Lauren Springer, and they are from Mount San. Oh, and I realized I don't know how to pronounce the college name.
San
San Jacinto,
Jacinto.
Jacinto.
Jacinto College.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Um, we are both thrilled to be here to share this with you. We have done this presentation before, focusing on how to do this in a lot of face-to-face classrooms. We are gearing it today towards the online space. So if you are teaching online or hybrid, you can adapt some of these strategies. But we've also done this if you teach fully face-to-face, you're welcome to do that as well. So we've got a good mix for you. Today, we're going to do an introduction. We've got a quick warm-up for everyone. We encourage you to participate in the chat. We'll talk a little bit about the theoretical foundation, and then we'll play some games and look at how and why game playing can really help us increase equity and meet a lot of outcomes, whether official or unofficial, that we may have for our students. Lauren, you want to talk about who we are?
Yep. So this is who we are. So Colette and I have known each other since grad school, so we go back to about 2008, and games are just something that we personally like. If you hate games, we hope you can find, just a sliver, something that you can adapt. Not all of these take crazy planning. A lot of this takes zero planning. So there's something for everyone. We promise you, you don't have to be people like us who dress up in costumes and go to trivia for fun on the weekend. But we teach between the two of us, we cover literature, multi-ethnic literature, first year composition, critical thinking, various levels of communication. We teach online, hybrid, face-to-face, and we adapt it all. So truly, we hope that you're able to find something you want to do. And if you're like, how could I do this in this type of class or modality, please put it in the chat. We're going to chat as well. All right. So first warm up is just something we're going to treat you like we would our online or face-to-face students. They'd walk into class, or this would be the discussion board, or this would be the announcement for the week. And I just tell them, hey, don't cheat. What's the fun in cheating? Everybody gets points, right? So let's just do our best. So it might be something like this. Two men are driving toward each other with their headlights off. Also, if you know the answer because you have read this before, you've heard this before, don't put the answer in the chat just yet. But two men are driving towards each other with their headlights off. No moon or stars are visible, and no electric lights are on anywhere nearby. Both cars are painted black with no reflective surfaces. Yet both men just know just when to hit the brakes and narrowly avoid hitting each other. How is this possible? So feel free to put in the chat, assuming you've never heard this before, what you think the answer is.
That was me, sorry.
Okay.
Is that Chelsea?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, Chelsea. Me too, Chelsea. I'm also terrible at riddles.
So we've got three folks who have one idea of it's daytime, perhaps. Is there somebody else who any other possibilities we might have here?
Trying to think what people guessed a few weeks ago. Their
Uh,
heads were out the window. I don't know. They were saying
uh,
some.
they were Teslas that had
Yeah, there we go.
auto swerve, auto
Sensor, autopilot. Oh, they
singing
can hear
along.
each other.
Convertibles, singing along in convertibles. Yeah. All right. Well, the official answer is yes, it's daytime. And what we would do in a writing class is we would look at this. They were talking to each other. Yes. One, we would talk about all the different options. How did you get there based on the information that's present? What information in this is missing that you would need to be able to make those sorts of determinations? How would you basically, how do you figure it out? It's not so much about getting the answer to the riddle right away, though the three of you that did, very good job. But to look at the creative thinking behind, like, well, what are all of the possible solutions here? And that's a way, like we said, we do this as a warm up to really help just stretch our thinking before everything gets going. So let's get warmer. We're already warmed up. We should have known that being a 1 o'clock session. You guys are already firing on all cylinders today. This one is a rainy day. Again, if you've heard this one, please wait and let other folks guess. But a man lives in a high-rise apartment building. He has an unusual custom regarding the elevator upon his return home from work each day. If it has been raining, he always takes the elevator to his floor, which is the 17th. If it has not been raining, but someone else is in the elevator with him, then he also takes the elevator to the 17th floor. But if it has not been raining and he is alone in the elevator, he takes the elevator to the 11th floor and then walks up the stairs the rest of the way. Why? We'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. Drop your answers in the chat as you come up with them. Witchcraft. Great. Yes. Outside and outdoor living situation. Okay. Stairs on the outside of the building. Doesn't want to slip on the stairs. Wants to get exercise. Exercise experience not too exhausting. Exactly. Like I can do 6 floors. I'm not doing 17 floors.
He needs to get those 10,000 steps in.
Yeah. Maybe it is 10,000 steps from the 11th to the 17th. I like that. Any other watering the plants?
Sorry, I'm laughing at Amanda. 6 floors at the end of the day, hard pass.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is really fun too at like an 8 a.m. face-to-face class when they're all like barely made it to class.
Dutch Bros in hand. Just like, what? Does it change your answer if I tell you that no matter what the weather is, when he leaves for work, he always takes the elevator all the way to the lobby? I love it to catch someone sunbathing.
All right. Should
All
we
right.
reveal?
Is there anybody who knows the answer who has been like holding out? He is not the bellhop.
I like it though. I like see all this critical
Yes.
thinking.
All right. So the official answer, though truly I prefer most of yours, is he's really short. And he can't reach the button for 17 unless he has an umbrella or somebody else to push it for him. So he can reach to 11, but then he has to get out and walk the stairs unless there's somebody else there. All right. So again, these are things that we would post. For my fully online asynchronous class, this is always in my announcement at the start of the week. I've got, here's what we've got going on. Here are the due dates. Here's a quick little video. And here's today's warm up. And that's where I will put a riddle like this and then turn on comments and just let them chat back and forth, see who comes up with the answer. We don't have a slide for it. I'll tell you the ones my students got this week. Just says, I am between 4 and 6, but I am not 5. What am I? If anybody can get to that, I'll give you like 1 minute and then I'm clicking forward because we don't have time. Anybody? It's the word and. All right, so why do we do this? Why play games in a class like this? The first one I want to talk about is this idea of it being low stakes and high engagement. One of the things that we have noticed, and this is not just a coming out of COVID thing, I think we have seen it increase in our students in the last 6 years, but Lauren and I both started teaching many, many, many years ago, and we've talked about, we have seen this consistently with students, is there is this fear of failure, especially when you're in public, doing it in front of other people on something like on a discussion board where a wrong answer is going to live forever for the 16 to however many weeks you have. So games show us failure is a necessity. It's a path to mastery, and it's a really low stakes way to do it. If you miss a couple points playing a game, if you get a riddle wrong, it doesn't feel nearly as potentially threatening or unsettling as failing at a quote unquote real question for a class. They allow us to reduce that anxiety, give students an opportunity to be wrong and make mistakes in experiment, to deal with problem solving in really complex ways in a way that feels approachable. We also have the social interaction element. Their students are asked to negotiate meaning and solve problems together. Whether virtually, again, synchronous or asynchronous, they are having to test really bold strategies when it comes to, a rhetorical answer with the peer community. So we've got even folks in the chat, like kind of building on one another's where, okay, I kind of like that idea. How else could I use that? This is giving them that space to do it. We also have authentic rhetorical situations. I almost called them authentical again. By placing students in specific roles, we're going to talk about a couple of games that we play where students take on a position. They create urgent functional communication need. They have to demonstrate communicating to a specific audience. This goes beyond, I'm writing an answer for my teacher. They have to fill these roles and then adjust their strategies based on the roles that they are given. And then finally, it's decision making and strategy and reflection. Gameplay requires constant situational evaluation and adaptation. Rarely do we see this in something like if we're sitting down to write an essay, if we're sitting down to complete a lab report. When you're playing a game and a factor changes, you have to change with it immediately. So we're encouraging them to pivot, to adjust based on feedback. For those of you who were just here from Dr. Springer's presentation in the last hour, it's that immediacy of the feedback. It's happening in the moment, and then they are pivoting and giving a new answer.
All right. And so what we were talking about, whether we're in our first year writing, critical thinking, literature, communication, right? For us, there's just some key things that are going to get addressed in all of our classes, and the games let us do that. So games require audience awareness, some more than others, but when we write, when we read, we're always talking about audience in the rhetorical situation with our students. Persuasion, adaptation. Some of these games we're going to talk about, you got to be really good at persuading people. And so when our students are writing or are giving speeches, they're often trying to get us to believe, their point or get us on their side of things. And then adaptation. Oh, Colette just did that, but now it's my turn. I gotta rethink about my strategy because that's not what I expected to happen, right? So same thing when we're writing, when we're researching, when we're working in a group to complete an assignment. Players must interpret, construct, and defend meaning, right? I don't know about you, but if I'm teaching first year writing and probably most of my other classes, one of the hardest things to get my students to do well is to really explain their evidence and why it's leading them to draw the conclusions they're drawing. And so when we're playing murder mystery and they say or werewolf and Colette is the werewolf and I'm like, but why? But how are you getting to that conclusion? In construct, right? We're going to talk about inference and connotation and denotation and anyways, lots of stuff. Gameplay surfaces bias, authority, and power dynamics. Some of these games are going to highlight it way more than others or make it very easy for you to integrate if you already talk about bias and authority and power dynamics and hierarchy and structure. Some of these games are going to fit in really well with very little, tweaking on your part. Some need a tiny bit more than others, but all of this stuff comes into play, pun not intended. So, some of the games we play, Werewolf, or sometimes it's called Mafia, or even some other names. If you've played it, will you put it in the chat out of curiosity? Anybody? Yes, me.
Of
Um,
a hand react, something like that.
yeah, just curious how many of you have played Werewolf or Mafia. There we go. So it's a social deduction game with a hidden role. Players are villagers or werewolves. Now this game can be way more complex, but we just do it with you're either a villager, a townsperson, or a werewolf, right? That's it. In each quote unquote night, everyone puts their heads down. The werewolf silently in the class or online will eliminate a player, and they're going to have to deduce, right, some form of deduction to figure out who they think are the werewolves of the class. Riddles and brain teasers, we've already done a couple with you. We're going to show even more brain teasers, things that you can do quickly, both face to face and online. And then solve a mystery, some sort of murder mystery or mystery party or whatever you want to call it, um, where the students will take on roles and they're going to have to really figure out who done it.
I want to hop in real quick on Werewolf. Since we did say today we're focusing mostly on the online aspect, Werewolf is one that does require a lot of synchronicity. We'll talk about adapting the mystery, solve a mystery for an asynchronous sociology course. Absolutely, we can do that. For Werewolf, we are still working that out. We do have a handout for y'all at the end of this that has instructions for if you're playing the game synchronously that you might be able to apply. But I'm going to admit we're still figuring it out how to do this in an async version without requiring everyone to buy the game Among Us on Steam and log in and play that way, which is a way to do it if students had endless money for that. But Werewolf is one when we talked about like authority and social power. Just as an aside, I have played this face to face with critical thinking students where I was the only werewolf and did not tell them that. I just said, there are werewolves among you, and let them all accuse one another and slowly eliminate each other in the game until at the end I revealed that it was me. And they were like, well, but that's not fair. And they're like, you said there were werewolves. And I'm like, yeah. And you never asked if it was me or not. And that leads us into a whole conversation about social power and what happens when someone in a position of authority gives you only partial information and you just turn on your neighbors and things of that nature. But one of the other sort of quick logic puzzles that we like to incorporate is this game called Murdle, which is like Wordle, but with murder. These are daily logic puzzles. The website changes every day with a new puzzle for you. It gives a grid-based logic puzzle like this and a list of clues. This is a way that we work through inductive and deductive reasoning with our students. I will usually record a video for my online students of me solving one to talk through. Here's what I see in each of these clues. Here's what I'm trying to do with it. And then post it after that puzzle has passed. So then they have a whole week to go to the website, solve one themselves, and then come back and give some sort of a written response as to, which clues were easy, which were difficult, where did they get hung up, what took them a while, all of those sorts of things. And this is just on www.murdle.com. If you're familiar with the game Clue, you can solve these as well. And then this is the Solve a Mystery Online edition. So our handout's going to have two different versions for you. The face-to-face version is if you've ever been to a mystery party, if you are familiar with The Office, you'll see why I'm making this reference in a moment. And remember the episode where they did there's been a murder in Savannah and everybody had a character. That's the face-to-face way to do this. I'm going to talk about the online version today. So first thing you're going to do is find or write a set of clues. You might find these on Teachers Pay Teachers, on Etsy, creating your own. This is a spot, depending on your own personal preference about using AI, that you might outsource a little bit to Google, Gemini, something like that. Say, hey, I need a list of clues for an inductive and deductive reasoning puzzle. Then on a discussion board, you're going to post the details. You'll post a scenario, what's the situation, what's the mystery that the students are trying to solve, with the full list of clues, and then give the students two specific roles in the scenario. One that will be the role that they have to play for their initial post, and then a role that they have to play when they're doing replies to their peers. So for me, their initial post is always some sort of solve the mystery. Give a deductive argument based on the clues, proving that one suspect is innocent, and then an inductive argument arguing the probability of who a culprit might be based on the clues. And then for their replies, I call it the defend a friend, where you go to someone else's initial post and whomever they have accused, it's your job to introduce reasonable doubt. What information might they be missing? How are they, what other parts of the story, what clues are they ignoring? Anything of that nature. This is the one I currently have up. Our scenario is Welcome to Dunder Mifflin. That's right. The paper company made famous by the totally real documentary The Office is an actual company, and you're the newest employee. You were hired because of your keen critical thinking skills, so don't let them down. And then I have a here's what happened. Here's the whole list of clues. You have the facts. First, you're giving an HR report to your manager and the HR rep as to who you think is guilty or innocent. And then in part two, they're playing the union representative, and their job is to be like, here's why I think my colleague is innocent. So my students this is actually their assignment for next week, which is our last full week of the semester. I usually do these type of mystery parties when we have a holiday coming up, like I always do it the week of Halloween or the week before Thanksgiving, right before spring break, right before finals. It's a really good time to sort of show them, like test the skills, especially in a critical thinking class where the students have to do things like deductive and inductive reasoning as well as defending an argument, breaking down someone else's argument. It's a good way to put all the skills in action. Again, in that low barrier to entry, a lot more fun. It's okay if you fail. No, everyone's going to think it's funny if you're just like yelling at Nellie because she threw away Angela's creamer for being offensive because it was flavored and Brits don't do that. Whatever your argument is, right? Like, and you can set this to any theme you want. And that's why I say if you need help generating these clues, this is a time that you can either build with other folks, look for available ones online, or if you are inclined to use AI to help you, this is a way that you might like, I need clues. Um, the other thing this does for students, again, it's that putting them in the different roles and having to shift how they're arguing, considering their audience. Because the audience is not a typical, hey, I'm writing an essay for my teacher. It's, I'm playing someone's union representative in a meeting. That's a different perspective that they're going to be writing from. When we do this face-to-face, this is how I do this for online. Face-to-face is a little different. We'll have students each take on a role. So someone might be Dwight, someone might be Angela, someone might be Oscar, and they all have to interact with one another in the room, or if we're on Zoom in breakouts, something of that nature, to figure out who has what clues and like gather the clues from each other that way. And then we always have a sort of detective notebook. If there's not enough characters for everyone to play, everyone else gets to be detective. In this one, everybody gets to play both roles of investigator and union defender. Anything else on Solve a Mystery, Lauren? Is that pretty?
No, I think you hit everything.
All right.
All right. So let's make a deal. Very old game, but works really well when you need something quick and you want to talk about fallacies. Also, yeah, fallacies, cognitive biases, right? It fits in very well. And so, real quick, before we get into what it is, how to do it, how to adapt it, I would love for everyone into the chat to pick door one, two, or three. Just put a one, two, or three in the chat. And whatever number gets picked the most. Are you all picking three because the first few people picked three? Let's see. Three, two, two, three, one. I feel like three is
It looks
winning.
like the threes have it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go with three. All right. So three is your door. So hold it, love it, keep it in your heart. We're going to go to the next slide. Okay. So now I have opened door number two. Door number two was a goat, you know, insert goat noise. And now you have door three, but there's also door one, right? Do you want to switch or stay? In the chat, are we switching or staying? I'll take the goat. We always have a couple of those. I love it. It's a baby goat. Everybody wants a baby goat. All right. So let's see. Stay, 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 switch, stay, switch, goat, stay, stay. I feel like the switches, or the stays, I'm sorry. I feel like the stays have it. Yes? All right. And I didn't really pick a winning door. I'm going to say, actually, all of you, door number three was also a goat. So you also lost, depending upon your perspective on goats. But can I ask before I explained why did you want to stay? Does somebody want to unmute or put in the chat? Why were, I mean, the vast majority of you said stay. So I'm curious, why did somebody want to stay? Easiest, okay? I feel like I love that though because the stuff that we say like that was a good number. That's my lucky number. I like that number. I like the way it looks. I was feeling like a three. I don't know what's behind the other doors. Okay, pretend the goat is bad. We're gonna have to change the goat to something people don't want to win, Colette. Because everyone's like, who cares if I get the goat? All right. Oh, I'm stubborn. Yes. Okay. They're not all one was $1,000. Not really. We're not giving you $1,000, but it really was. There was a winning. Oh, okay. So this idea, I like Ben's logic. Like, when we were taking the SATs, it's like if you're not sure, pick C, type. Okay. Okay. The initial, yeah, we get locked into those initial thoughts. So, yeah. So statistically speaking, if you are ever in this scenario, and again, statistics. When you first pick your door, you have a 1 out of 3 chance, right, that you're going to pick the winning door. However, when I or whomever reveals the goat, the, wah wah loser, one loser door, statistically speaking, you want to switch to the other door because the probability is now shifting and making the other door more likely to be the winning door, right? And that's just a math statistical. Of course, three still could be the winner. There's no way to know. But statistically speaking, your odds increase of winning if you switch. But often we don't like to switch. We're like our little tribes, right? We talk about tribalism in my critical thinking class and why facts don't change people's minds. The fact that I'm telling you all this, that switching would increase your probability, right? You have a better chance of winning the $1 million. Some of you still would not switch if you were in that scenario, right? And why? So the biases, the gambler's fallacy, right? All of these things that we're often trying to teach our students. And the why facts don't change people's mind, that video still blows my mind, right? When I can give that to you later if someone wants it. Because we hold on to our beliefs and our ideologies. Or I have a TED talk, right, where we talk about people who are the soldiers versus the scouts and what happens when you're the scout and it's your job to simply find information versus the soldier, it's your job to defend, right? So all of these things affect how we critically think, how we, make decisions about scenarios. And so this lets us show that to students. And it's fun because I just buy stuff at like the dollar store and like fun pens and pads of paper. And so students, even 25-year-old students love a trinket. So it's a fun way to do something in class for $1 too.
All right. So this next one is rhetorical Mad Libs. And this is where, again, Lauren and I both teach writing. I also teach public speaking. So rhetoric is a big part of the specific content areas that we cover. This also will likely apply across the board in a number of different disciplines as well. So the way that this game works, the purpose, what we're really doing is we're trying to get people used to tone, audience, purpose, rhetorical strategies, etc. So we're going to assign you all as our class a general fun purpose you're going to be writing about. For example, convince the dean to give everyone free pizza on Fridays. And then if you were doing this in class, this is a way you might use groups if you're using Canvas or some other LMS, you can group out on discussion boards, or again, just assign everybody individually to let them communicate with one another. If it's synchronous, you have the option of just dividing folks out into breakout rooms, something like that. And tell the groups that they're going to be collectively responsible for coming up with a response. It can be a speech, it can be a written paragraph. It's going to depend on what your topic area is. Then we have a random draw, and you're gonna have two categories. You can do this with a wheel. I've done it where like I do a video spinning the wheel and just assign folks off of that, and then they have to check the announcement, make sure they know which one they have, or put it in the discussion board. So first it's going to be random tones, things like sarcastic, hyper-professional, aggressive, maudlin. Sorry about that. And then you're going to pass around a bag of rhetorical appeal. So they're going to get ethos, logos, or pathos. They have to combine their tone and their appeal in whatever they are delivering to respond to the prompt. So again, write a one paragraph pitch. If it's a speech class, I'm going to have them stand up and give a speech about it. Using the tone and appeal, for example, sarcastic logos. Convince me of this. And then share them out. And then the rest of the class will have an opportunity to discuss effectiveness. So we're going to try it. This is all of us together. We can brainstorm ideas. Again, you're welcome to come off mute. We're taking this from the English perspective. Again, even if you don't teach an English class, we are going to convince our department, this actually applies writing across the discipline, to stop prioritizing one standard of English and acknowledge multiple forms of expression or Englishes have value. The idea of the multiple Englishes is borrowed from Vershawn Ashanti Young and his Should Writers Use They Own English? If you are not familiar, I highly recommend looking up and reading that article. It talks all about code meshing and how so many of the formal rules that we try to expect folks to follow are actually problematic in a number of ways, and students can still express themselves even if they're like throwing a random 6-7 into their responses, if there's a reason for it. So let's say we're going to do this. We're going to tell our department, like, look, we don't need one standard of English. That's not what's important. We need to be prioritizing multiple voices instead. And I've got our random generator. I forgot to pull it up big here, so I'm just going to pull one out of the list I have on my phone. Our rhetorical appeal is going to be pathos, which is an appeal to emotion. And our tone for this is going to be passive aggressive. So passive aggressive pathos. You can't tell me you've never written an email to someone at your institution using that tone and or rhetorical strategy before. But if this was our purpose, how do you use those two together? Throw some ideas. Lauren, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. I saw the mute blink. Remember, we're working on this collectively, so if you want to just give us a single sentence you might start with, a point you might want to make. So I use a couple different random generators. I will, for the tones, I just came up with my own list of different ones to use. I put them all either into Wheel of Names and put them in as the names and do the spin, or there's one called Rubber Duck Race that the students really get into. I can actually stop sharing. I'll stop sharing for just a second and see if I can find that one very quickly. The Rubber Duck Race is one that students really respond well to. Let's see. All right, let me.
Yeah, go ahead, Lori.
This is so outside of my wheelhouse that I'm not even sure what to do. Like I love Mad Lib, so I get the Mad Lib thing, but am I supposed to give you an example like, I was really hoping that you were going to do X, Y, or Z. Like, is that what you're looking for? Like a specific example?
Yeah, so the idea would be if that was your prompt. So if we were thinking about it from a writing class or a speech class, your job is we've got to convince our department to stop prioritizing one standard of English. How would you go about doing that? One of the ways that I would suggest my students maybe approach something like this is write it how you would just write it on your own, and then try to apply the tone or the rhetorical strategy. Yeah, I love. Oh, there it is right there. As if the world hasn't shown us repeatedly that children thrive when their full identities are honored. There's that tiny bit of passive aggressive that I love in there. Just that, like, that's where we're getting the tone to come through. Let me show you all this really quick. So this is duckracegame.com. Instead of names, they are. I just put ethos, logos, and pathos in here. We will. Let's say it's going to be a 10-second race. Ethos, logos, and pathos are racing each other. And they're off. You can change the costumes. The other thing that I use this for is, see, pathos won. And then you can either remove the winner from the next race and race again. If you're trying to do it for each group, if it was the rhetorical appeals, I would leave them all in there unless I only had 3 groups. But the other thing that I use this for, I'm going to stop sharing so I can make that duck stop quacking, is in my speech class, I use that to pick speech order. So I put the names of all of my students on it, and then we run through the duck race 30 times, basically, until we're down to the last however many students. So it's fun. I think it's they get a kick out of it. They start cheering for their different ducks. They're convinced. Pizza on Fridays is fine. Good morning to those of us who can use commas. Guess it's a bad morning for the rest, since some of us don't. And passive aggressive is just one example. We have some that say like ultra professional or very happy or cheery. And it's okay if the students or groups struggle with tone. That is one of the things that we invite in our classrooms. The idea with games and with things like Mad Libs is to invite that struggle. We want to be able to say like, all right, this tone is tricky. Why? What do you think this tone sounds like when someone else uses it? What are words or phrases that might make something seem more passive aggressive or sarcastic as opposed to helpful, or something that's really slang heavy versus something that's really, super like discipline specific jargon? What's the difference in that? So for us, it's really opening conversations about it. Must be nice to be able to choose the meeting time. Yes. Thank you, Lauren, for all of the passive aggressive examples that we're throwing in chat. Let me hop to the debrief slide quickly here. So what we're looking for, let's start first with the vibe check. And somebody said not really understanding the tone. So how does your assigned tone? This is a question you could ask in your class. How does the assigned tone impact the way you approach your appeal strategy? As you listen to the other groups, the idea would be, if this were on a discussion board, as you read the other groups' posts, whatever they came up with, which combo felt the most persuasive? The idea with this is to work on those persuasive skills. So which one felt persuasive and why? Was it the rhetorical appeal they were using? Was it the tone they were using? Was it the combination? So this gives a chance for that metacognitive reflection, not only on their own work, but on what they observed and what others have done. Audience awareness. This is a question if you want to continue the activity. What's the first sentence if we had an initial draft? You would have to change if instead of your department, your audience was your fellow attendees at this conference. Finding authenticity. Did your tone or appeal feel inappropriate to the purpose? Are you like, look, I wouldn't use passive aggressive if I was talking to my department? Great. Think about, when do we perform in our writing? How is it different from approaching things authentically? And I think that's where this activity can really come in handy, is working on authentic voice and being able to show students how different does it feel when you show up with all of yourself as opposed to what you think the teacher wants to hear. And so you can translate this by having students actually try it with a piece of writing, maybe something they've written for a class, which feels fake, which feels more like them, how can they play around with it and find those different things, and which requires more research or support. All right, we're on our last slide, I promise. So overall, this is why we do games. What are we hoping you take away from this? I'm going to do the top three, then Lauren will hop in and do the bottom three. Number one is critical reading. Players are interpreting clues, they're interpreting motives. This is mirroring what we hope students see when they rhetorically analyze texts, if they are doing deep readings for any subject. If they get used to reading one another in gameplay, how do we apply that to actual text that they read for class? Working on rhetoric and persuasion, games require constructing and defending positions. They are essential for thesis-driven academic writing. If you are trying to convince someone, yes, I am a werewolf, no, I'm not, yes, this person in the mystery is guilty, no, they're not, that's what you do when you write a research paper. You're trying to support your main idea. And then metacognitive and reflection, gameplay gives us this opportunity for trial and error, for making those mistakes, reflecting on the process, and then drafting and revising. um, we'll get to that. I see your question, Karen. We'll get to that in just a second. Lauren, take the other three.
Sorry, I was starting to type a response to Karen in the chat. My response would be, how do we prevent that for anything? Um, Unfortunately, I don't know that there's not a way that we can truly prevent it all the time for everything. But bottom three, so organization, and this was something we talked about if you were in my session before this one, right? Games teach logical sequencing, structure, helping students understand strong paragraphs, right? Topic sentences. How are you constructing what you're saying? When we're playing the murder mystery game in class, and they're like, well, I think this person did it, and I say why, and they'll say, well, this happened. I'm like, yeah, but something else happened before that, right? And they're going back to their notes, they're thinking about it again in the order. Oh, you're right, that person did say that first. Right? So it's forcing them to think about the logic, inductive, deductive, what happened first, what's leading to what. They're learning the value of order, transitions, evidence. It forces them, and I don't teach speech, but when we're in class or even when we're writing it in a discussion board, it's practice to explain how they came to that conclusion. Collaboration, the play builds trust and listening. This was something I talked about in my session too, with respect to community building. To have a culturally responsive classroom, to have an anti-racist classroom, to have an equitable classroom, community building is so key. So giving them a chance to build things together. I do think whether you're face to face or online, one way that I like to use to hopefully mitigate AI usage is to make it a group writing assignment. So if I'm in Canvas and I'm putting them into individual groups on group discussion boards, and I'm like, hey, Colette, Lori, Lauren, and Diane, I'm just looking at names down the line. You have to come up with a 5 to 7 sentence paragraph that does this. I would hope that at least most of that group does not want to use, yeah, does not want to use AI, right? Um, and rhetorical situation. This is really hard for students as a threshold concept in my experience. It was hard for me at 17, 18. Like, what do you mean? There's who is, no, my audience is you. Okay, well, yes, but, right? And getting them to think about it. But when we're sitting in a group or we're having a big discussion board or they're working in small groups online, they have to think about who's in the room, who they're eventually going to present this to. So they have to adapt strategy, strategy, tone based on their audience, the purpose, and the context, and mirroring that situation. Okay.
All right, so this QR code, it will link to, again, we said we have a lot of these that are face-to-face or synchronous instructions, as well as just links to resources where you can find some of those riddles and various logic puzzles that we like to use in announcements and discussion boards. It also has a link to these slides for view if you would like any of those, as well as our email addresses are on here and on that handout. I will go back to that slide and then back to this one, but I know we are right at time. But we will hang out for this break if folks do have questions. But thank you all, and I hope that you decide to play some games with your students. Here's that QR code. Lauren also just linked it in chat. And then I can drop both of our email addresses in there as well.
I put a link in the chat, but let me know if that doesn't work either. Any questions, thoughts? I do
Thank you
think
for
this is a
being here.
great, I know there's a lot of AI, people have very strong feelings about it, and I get it on various different sides. But if you're like, but I want to do this in a chemistry class, great. I would be on Claude or Chat GPT or something saying, this is what I want to do. How can I adapt it? And then just working it, right? I've done virtual escape rooms,
Mhm.
but Chat GPT is, I'm not going to try, I don't have the time to create that from scratch for my class, right? But I can say I have a 2 hour class, or I want to do this on a discussion board, or I want to do this in groups. I have a synchronous class. I have a hybrid class. I have whatever it may be. Um, and have that AI conversation back and forth to tweak it to what you're looking for.
For starting a game in class and using it online, sometimes I think there are a couple different ways to do that. One might be if we play the game